Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. Troy Dugwitz of the Commit and Go podcast, where we encourage you to make big commitments, take big action to create big-ass results in your life and business. Today's topic is this: cutting corners. It'll get you every time. So I promise you we're almost done with the saga of the landscaper, but these stories just keep popping into my head, these lessons learned that I personally look at in my own life and then identify where I can use these lessons. And so it's not like I'm just sharing with you these stories and metaphors, etc., and not using them, or maybe I see these things and I've already used them in my life, but I wouldn't use the story to drive it home more for me and hopefully more for you. And if we go back, and I'm just going to take you through this timeline, and you look at where corners have been cut. We're going to start with the bobcat story, and you know the bobcat story of this guy dumping the bobcat into a ditch in our backyard. What he didn't do is he didn't go inspect the area, because had he inspected the area that he thought was actually dirt was a pile of leaves. And so when he started to dump the dirt, the bobcat tipped forward and into the ditch. That's number one. Number two, as they're digging dirt out from our house, they were driving over the sidewalk to get to a certain portion of the landscaping. Now, this is an area that most people I have talked to, and even a landscaper, said, well, they should easily be just shoveling this out, putting it in the bobcat, or shoveling it out, putting it in a wheelbarrow, and then wheeling it off. But no, they drove over the sidewalk where they cracked two portions of our sidewalk. This had to be redone. So they were cutting corners, trying to make it easier, but it ended up making more of a job in the end. Oh, but wait, there's more. Then they come, as they're continuing this job, they hit, as you know, the sewer line. It is an up line that comes out of the ground, and then there's a lateral line that goes across the front yard. Well, they hit the sewer line, and in hitting the sewer line, what could they have done? They could have inspected the area. They could have looked around the trees to make sure there was nothing to be hit. But no, what did they do? They end up plowing right into it, crushing this pipe. Oh, but wait, there's more. Then there's the cable incident, which I have not done a podcast on, where they cut my cable. That's right, the cable that goes into the house for my internet was cut. What were they doing over there? I still have no idea, but based on other stories, I have to assume that even though the power box, which by the way, they're on the side of where the power box is, where the connections are for the internet, etc., I have to assume, I know you shouldn't, but I have to assume that they merely didn't take the time to identify where these wires were running. These are all scenarios where if they just would have not cut the corners, if they just would have taken the time to inspect an area or two, then they wouldn't have had the additional work on the other side. The additional work being a plumber having to come out to fix our plumbing. The additional work being that they had to come out and pour cement and have a cement truck at a house that didn't need it when we started this project. They wouldn't have had to repair my internet feed. They cut the line while I was recording for my clients. They wouldn't have had to repair that feed had they just taken the time to do the work right and not be cutting corners. So look, introspectively, I sit here and I go, okay, well, where in my life have I cut corners, or am I cutting corners right now? And it's the same question I'm posing to you. Because look, it's costing them more in the end. It cost them more to have to get a tow truck out to pull a bobcat. It cost them more to have to pay for the plumbers. It cost them more to have to pay for a cement truck to come out and pour cement. All because they cut corners. And it typically does. So where in your life, when you look at your life, in your health, in your relationships, in your spirituality, and in your business, where are you cutting corners? I mean, I've seen this in my own, I'm a coach, and I've seen this with clients where I give them an assignment, and for some reason in the assignment, they think they're going to go ahead, well, I'll just go ahead and cut corners here. They're not going to do the assignment the way it's been outlined, thinking that maybe I'm being anal about how I'm outlining the program, and yet there's a direct purpose, a reason that I'm giving them an assignment in the manner that I am, and they cut corners. And then I come back and say, that's not the way that I instructed you to do it. You got to redo it. And they're like, oh, I thought this would be easier. I thought it'd be easier if I did this. Well, isn't it the same thing the landscapers thought? I thought it would be easier if we cut the corner. I thought we'd get done faster if we cut the corner. So where in your life across body, being, balance, business, do you find that you're cutting corners, that you're looking for that easy way out? And in the end, we start to realize that easy way out doesn't pay off. I've seen this over the years, working out for, I don't even know now, maybe over 30 years. And I've seen myself in this over the course of time where I've even had where workouts, I'm just cutting corners. I'm trying to take the short way out. I'm trying to take a quick hit on the workout. And if I do it too long, if I cut the corners too long, if I take the easy way out too long, then guess what starts to happen? I start to gain weight. I start to get lethargic, I get tired. And so what happens? It's that you have to have this realization like, oh my gosh, I'm cutting corners right now. Like I'm coming in and I'm pushing weights around, but I'm not working out. I'm coming in, I'm getting on the treadmill, but I'm not pushing myself and I'm not sweating. And so I have that realization, that understanding that, oh my gosh, I'm cutting a corner here. Like this is really cutting a corner. Where in your life are you cutting corners? You look in your relationships. And people say, oh, I have a wonderful relationship with my wife or my spouse or my significant other. It's like, okay, well, when's the last time you had a date night? We don't need date nights. We'll be fine. And all of a sudden you start to realize 6 months down the road that you're in this stagnant relationship. Not that it's bad, not that it's horrible, not that you want to leave, but you start to get bored. And it happens. And so what do? You make investments in your relationship. You start to make date nights a priority. You make what my wife and I years ago created, which is just an in-house date night. Like you specifically take the time to like sit and hang out and talk and connect. But you make it a priority because if you're cutting corners on date nights, if you're cutting corners on spending time with your spouse, all of a sudden you're going to find 6 months down the road you haven't even held hands. You haven't even made love to your wife or your significant other. Like you have to take a look at this and realize like, wow, where am I cutting corners with my kids? I'm cutting corners because I'm sitting there and I'm supposed to be paying attention to them when we're playing, but I'm looking at my phone. That's cutting corners. Where in my business am I cutting corners? Many people cut corners. They're supposed to have team meetings, and they don't have team meetings. And they just cut corners. Oh, we don't need it this week. We don't need it today. We'll catch up tomorrow. And the more they start to cut corners, they're trying to take the easy way out, the more the team starts to unravel. I don't know where it is in your life, but I want you to take time today. Take the time today to take a look at your life across Body, Being, Balance, and Business, and where in your life are you cutting corners? Hey, even in spirituality, you might be like, oh, I pray every day, but you know you're full of shit. Like you're sitting there and you're racing through a prayer and you're not really connecting to God. And maybe in meditation, you're doing that 3-minute tester meditation or beginner meditation instead of the 15 minutes that you worked your way up to, just so you can take the easy way out and cut corners. And that might work on one day because you're in a hurry and you want to get your meditation in, but you do that 10 days in a row and all of a sudden you start to realize that you are disconnected to self. You start to realize that you are more antsy or more testy and just like more frustrated in life. Cutting corners is always going to cost us. So take a look at your life right now across Body, Being, Balance, Business. Identify the place in your area where you are cutting corners. For many of you, it's all 4 areas. Where are you cutting corners and what are you going to commit to right now? Like pick one. You don't even have to pick 4. Pick one area right now that you are going to commit to going all in on. And that means that you stop cutting corners. So I've got for you here today. Hey, folks, you know the spiel. Please send people over to iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Ask them to listen to or forward this podcast to somebody and say, hey, you got to listen to this dude. He's killing it. And he's giving me great input and great messages every day that help to guide my life. Let them have this fire every week, Monday through Friday. And if you haven't already, make sure you head on over to commitandgo.com. Get more information about me, yours truly, Dr. Troy Dukowitz, and the programs that we do, the live programs that we do. And also you get a free little gift when you head over the Time Mastery Program. That's all I've got for you here today. I am Dr. Troy Dukowitz. This has been the Commit and Go podcast, where we encourage you to make big commitments, take big action to create big ass results in your life and business. We'll hear you next time. Bye-bye.